when Obama was giving gay people the right to vote, you might have heard about a short film called Love Is All You Need. It was a viral hit, getting millions of views, and was shown in schools all over these United States. I know because our esteemed director Jed vividly remembers viewing it in his middle school when he went to Boys and Girls Club over the summer. I just love learning everything about you. Love Is All You Need is a short film that puts a mirror in society's faces by flipping society on its head. Instead of heterosexuality being seen as the default, it's set in a world where homosexuality is the norm while straight people are shunned. It wastes no time getting you acclimated to this, as its opening consists of images of protests and quotes reappropriated to fit this new setting. Heteros are beasts, Adam and Steve, not Adam and Eve. How did they make babies? By the way, what's the deal with this music? This introduction is more likely to get you in the mood for The Walking Dead, not a motion picture advocating for gay rights. We begin with our main character, Ashley Curtis, being born.
Some people say that they are born the way they are destined to be. Some people say that it's a result of how you were raised. Problem with that theory is that I had the best, most normal parents anyone could have asked for.
Okay, right off the bat, you're not making a very compelling case here. You think that homosexuality has to do with how you're born or how you're raised? Well, this fictional character that I created, who's reading off a script that I specifically wrote to push my own point of view, debunks that. It's not that this character is saying anything wrong, but just because you make up a character with traits that you specifically want so you can prove the point you're trying to make, it doesn't make it mean anything. To avoid confusion, we'll establish right off the bat that being that we're supposed to look at this alternate universe and relate it to our own world, a lot of this commentary is going to be based on those relations. Anyway, she explains how she lived a happy, normal life, but that all changed after she attended her uncle's wedding.
But it was at my uncle's wedding that I had the first sinking feeling that I wouldn't grow up to be like them.
I guess in this world, no one has an issue with interracial marriage. After catching a glimpse of a flower boy, she realizes that she's straight in a world where everyone else is gay and hates heterosexuals. This is made clear when she's unable to read the room when playing with her friends.
I got an idea. How about David and I play Mommy and Daddy?
That's really weird.
No, it'll be fun.
What are you, some kind of breeder?
No, I'm not.
R2.
Am not.
R2.
Am not.
R2. Come on, David. We don't play with breeders.
So if you're confused, breeder is, I guess, a slur for straight people in this world.
Telling everyone that you're a disgusting breeder.
I don't know, it doesn't have a lot of punch to it, does it? When I say something like, all breeders should die, it doesn't have that edge. Another new slur that gets thrown around a lot is, they call straight people Rose.
You can run, your little Rose!
Obviously, they're doing this to really drill in your mind that slurs have weight to them, and they're trying to put that weight towards the viewer so that they feel what it's like and it's easier for them to sympathize. And look, it's obviously true that you shouldn't call people slurs, but it doesn't really work here. You're a Ro! I hate Rose! You know, that's... yeah. This leads to people at school making fun of her for talking to boys.
I wish Julia's part was for a girl.
Ashley likes boys. Ashley likes boys. Ashley likes boys.
Why is this clip so funny? Look at him. He looks like such a dope. Oh,
Oh, Ashley, you're so beautiful. Kiss me.
Alright, so these girls are making fun of her for being straight by jokingly flirting with her, but she's straight, so she wouldn't be romantically interested in them, right? So the scene makes no sense. She has dinner with her family, and we get to see a bit of her home life.
Ashley, did you tell your mom that you got cast in school play?
School play? I thought we decided you were trying out for the football team.
I'm sorry, Mom, I'm just not coordinated.
But you're coordinated enough to act? Isn't that for boys?
So I guess in this world, gender roles have also been reversed, because football, seen as a masculine activity, is now primarily played by women, while theater, seen as more feminine, is more of a man's activity. Side note, is theater really seen as a feminine thing? I mean, I get the stereotype that gays love it, but I've always been under the impression that either gender can partake and enjoy in it. Then again, I'm not one known to be in the loop regarding these sorts of things, so... I don't know. It's really weird that they're trying to establish in this world that women are now masculine and men are now feminine. If that's the case, why haven't any of the characters' behaviors reflected that? Why does Ashley's family then resemble a traditional family unit with only one parent being masculine and assertive while the other fitting the role of a submissive stay-at-home housewife? If women in this world are masculine, shouldn't they both be more manly? Why is the supposed man of the house sipping a glass of wine, a beverage that is seen more so as feminine? She should be cracking open a cold bottle of beer instead. Maybe it's just that all the genders associated with the activities people take part in are now reversed, but not the actual gender roles themselves? What's even the point of all this? How does addressing gender roles aid the intended message anyways? This is a movie advocating for the acceptance of gay people. All you're doing here is cluttering the story and world with unnecessary details and inconsistency.
We're doing Romeo and Juliet. I'm playing the nurse. Did you know that Shakespeare wrote it for his true love, Duchess of Southampton?
Duchess. Shakespeare was a heterosexual?
For those of you who haven't taken a 9th grade English literature class, this is referencing the disputed sexuality of William Shakespeare. Enthusiasts argue whether or not he was straight, gay, or bisexual. It's a whole other discussion that we won't get into because at the end of the day, he's dead, who cares? The Shakespeare might have been gay theory is a pretty interesting thing to reference here, and we really wouldn't care that much about it, but the way it's presented here kind of feels dishonest.
Yeah. Well, he loved her so much, but he couldn't divorce his husband. So he wrote Romeo and Juliet to express his love.
For one, to say that Shakespeare was factually 100% this sexuality is kind of weird because, as I said, it's disputed. There is no clear conclusion. And to say that he specifically wrote Romeo and Juliet for a secret lover is just full-on not even true. We tried to find some information on that, but we genuinely couldn't find anything. Regardless of whether or not they intended to mislead the audience into thinking something that isn't true, it's misinformative all the same. Also, if we're doing this whole thing where the genders are reversed, shouldn't Shakespeare have been a girl?
And did you see who moved in down the street?
No.
A hetero couple. I saw them getting out of their car. He put his arm around her, and they have a pink and blue flag on their bumper. Ashley, I want you and Cooper going around the other way to school.
But that's twice as long.
I don't care. I'm not gonna have you exposed to that perverted lifestyle, men and women living together. It's a sin. It makes me sick just thinking about it.
Credit where it's due, this scene isn't that bad for what it's trying to convey. You could kind of picture people talking like this about gay people back in the day, so if you're trying to do the whole role reversal thing, it honestly ain't that bad. We then transition into a church scene. This section is obviously intended to be an observation on religion and the role it plays on how these groups of people are perceived.
In light of recent events in the Netherlands, where heterosexual marriage is now allowed, Pope Joan VII wants to remind Catholics all over the world that the Church has not changed its stance on this issue.
Alright, so you have a female preacher, a female pope, head of faith, they're okay with gay marriage, so alright, you're committing blasphemy. Great job, guys, this is totally gonna win people over to your side, although then again, maybe these guys are just Presbyterian.
Her Holiness reminds us, and I quote, "It is a sin for a man to lust after a woman. It is an abomination for a woman to lie with a man outside of the breeding season."
I'm sorry, what was that?
Outside of the breeding season.
A breeding season. This world has a breeding season. So a pretty obvious question about a world in which everyone is gay is, how would they repopulate? Because obviously people of the same sex can't really bring new life into this world with each other, so I guess the way they get around it is they have a breeding season, which they don't go into too much detail about, but you can kind of connect the dots. Presumably, there is a designated period of time in which husbands and wives are allowed to seek out other people to engage in intercourse so that a pregnancy can be initiated. Where do I start? First of all, the point of this alternate Earth is that it's similar to ours, just that everyone's gay. Okay, sure, but then what's our equivalent of a breeding season that's being adapted here? There's really nothing of the sort. It feels like, if anything, you're just highlighting a difference between these two sexualities. Heteros can reproduce with those that they love. It's a straightforward process. While in a homonormative society, you'd have to jump through all these weird hoops to birth. If you're trying to send a message that, hey, these people are just like you, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot with this whole breeding season nonsense. And you know, you can't really be gay if you're having hot, sweaty, steamy passionate sex with the opposite gender? People still have to have heterosexual sex? Does the hatred of straight people really make sense? Oh, you do the same exact things we do, except you do it with people you love and outside of the specific time frame that we established, so we don't like you. Are we seriously supposed to entertain the validity of a world where having sex with people outside of your marriage is totally normal, but men and women being in relationships isn't? Well, in the modern day and age, who knows? And of all things you could have called it, why is it called a breeding season? It's like you're reducing humans to cattle. It frankly just sounds like a fetish.
Yeah, everyone in this world is gay. Yeah, but there's a breeding season where they get to have sex with other people.
Human reproduction is limited and controlled in some way, shape, or form, which is a very dystopian concept. It honestly just ruins the whole message when you take more than a minute to think about it. It's just a horrible concept in general for a film that is, again, trying to facilitate acceptance for these groups. You are showing people a world in which homosexuality is the norm, and they have to give their bodies to people that they do not love so that this society can persist. You are presenting a world in which homosexuality is normalized, and that world is frankly abhorrent. Therefore, why should we normalize it? A little bit of a tangent there, and frankly, I could go on. But you get the point. This concept is so laughably bad that even though it's entirely irrelevant to the movie overall, it honestly just throws the whole thing out of the window. Anyways, the commentary on religion itself feels very shallow.
Any such person harboring lust in their heart for the opposite sex will burn in hell. Let us pray.
How would you like it if religious people hated your sexuality? Well, I just wouldn't associate with them, I guess. If I was in a community that hated me, I would just simply not be a part of that community. I guess if you really wanted to be accepted in this religion, you just refrain from acting on your desires, which I guess would be kind of weird because you'd be like, I'm straight, but I refuse to indulge in my sexuality so I can participate in the faith. Meanwhile, there is a designated slot of time in which people are allowed to cheat on their partners with which to have heterosexual sex. Bit of a double standard there. I mean, what's being said here? Oh, look at this poor girl who has to listen to these people talk about how her lifestyle is gonna put her in hell. No one should be subject to that. Sure, I guess here it's bad that a little girl is subject to it, but in the bigger picture, in the grand scheme of things, why should religious institutions be expected to change the presentation of their beliefs to appeal to people who don't believe in and oppose their morals? In their own places of worship, no less. You know, I just realized God hates heteros. You know what else God hates? Adultery. There's another commandment about how thou shalt not covet your neighbor's wife. How exactly does that work in a world with a frickin' breeding season? Most Christians wouldn't look at this scene and use it to reflect on their own behavior. A Christian would look at this church, see that they support things like homosexuality and they have a woman at their head, and they think, wow, these people are sacrilegious blasphemers, they are opposed to everything I believe in, and therefore they are my enemy. So after all that, she gets with the boy from earlier and...
Just admit you're a rogue, bro.
Wow, that went up to 11 real fast. We went from verbal teasing to straight up shoving people's heads into toilets. And we have some beautiful acting from Mr. Teacher Man over here.
What are you doing in the boys' bathroom? Come on, all of you, get back to class. Come on, Paula, get going. Ashley, over here. You know, Ashley, this school has a zero-tolerance policy for this kind of behavior. Imagine if your mothers had seen you holding hands with a boy in public. I should really call both of your parents. I'll let this be punishment enough. This is just a phase that you're going through. Maybe if you got yourself a girlfriend, all this teasing would stop.
On one hand, I don't doubt that there are teachers like this. On the other hand, it's like they got Darman to write this guy. The harassment ramps up as she begins getting these texts. Ashley does it with boys. Nobody likes you, Ashley Curtis. Hetero. Gross. Brutal. So we went from verbal teasing to waterboarding people in toilets, and now we're sending mean texts. Kind of a step back, but alright. By the way, where are all these people getting your number?
I can't do this anymore.
Oh no, they're breaking up. They had such a good time together in that one scene.
But I thought you liked me.
Yeah, it's all about you, isn't it?
Look, my brother found out. He threatened to tell my parents. They'd kill me if they found out. Papa says God hates breeders, and they're all gonna burn in hell.
Oh, that's tough, buddy.
Well, can I kiss you just one last time?
So you have this boy who's breaking up a relationship because he's genuinely scared about what's gonna happen to him, and then Ashley's over here like, oh, that's great, just kiss me. Absolutely callous.
Please, I don't know when I'm ever going to get to kiss a boy again.
So your concern isn't that someone you really like is leaving you out of fear for his own safety and well-being, but that you don't know if, not even if, when you'll get to kiss another boy. Isn't this kind of creepy? He clearly doesn't feel safe or comfortable being in this relationship, so asking to kiss him is kind of weird.
Gotcha!
Oh, but what do we have here?
What are you doing? Get away from me!
Ian.
I don't know why she keeps touching me like this. I was just trying to be nice to her. I hate you, Ashley Curtis. Stay away from me.
Spectacular acting right there. So they chase after her because...
You can't be nice to heteros. But you can always teach them a lesson. Grab her!
Why are they going the long way around? There's another way that would let you get to her faster. The inefficiency of this bullying is mind-boggling. Look at that determination on her face. That is the face of someone on a mission. That is the face of someone who believes in what they're doing. Just an absolute hunter right there. She runs into a gym for some reason and runs into her boyfriend's brother.
So this is the little queerbait that tried to hold my brother's hand.
He wanted me to.
No, he didn't.
We saw her kiss him. Just now. Didn't we?
Yeah.
There's just something so funny about these guys who look like they're in high school, and then you have these little runts trying to rile them up. What kind of school is this? She gets punched to the ground and then lightly tapped with people's feet.
You queer. Smear the queer! Smear the queer! Smear the queer!
They aren't even trying to make this look convincing. I like this guy in the background who isn't even paying attention to what's going on.
Smear the queer! Smear the queer! Smear the queer! Smear.
Come on, guys. You're actors. You gotta put some heart into this. I don't think my feet can get this high. I'm wearing Crocs, by the way.
Do us all a favor, Rob. And kill yourself.
I like how she said that because I don't even think she's trying to be mean here. Like, this is a genuine request. Her killing herself would actually genuinely be beneficial.
Do us all a favor, Rob. And kill yourself.
Cinema, baby. Cinema. She gets home and tries to sneak back in without her worried parents noticing, but gets caught.
Ashley, what the hell happened to you?
I'll call you later.
Ashley, baby, sweetie, what
Who did this to you? Ashley, who did this to you?
Nobody.
Well, you didn't do it to yourself now, did you?
Yeah, great parenting there, Mom.
That's enough. Honey, please.
Who did this to you? I want to know right now.
I want to know right now. This scene really makes you realize that it must take a lot of skill to write an assertive female character. Here you have a woman trying to recreate the role of a cold, unyielding father, and it just does not land at all. The harassment is really ramping up. Someone throws rocks at her house. Maggot breeder! Someone posts a picture of her face on top of a cow and called her Ashley. A real career ender right there.
Same thing's gonna happen in the next town.
Oh, the F-slur. Are straight people called the F-slur in this world? Yeah, how would you feel if a gay person called you a homophobic slur? Well, very confused. Her now ex-boyfriend says that he is defriending her. Defriending? Defriending. It's unfriending, isn't it? Her parents start arguing.
I don't know. This isn't normal. I don't even know what's going on with her.
Because, well, they're lesbians. That's what they do. Dude, I am so funny. So anyway, she commits suicide. I honestly don't know how else to put it. She drops this absolute banger of a line.
Maybe there's a hetero heaven.
Okay. Gets a sharp object of some kind and, she just goes at it. And this scene goes on for an unnecessarily long time. This suicide has more screen time than her relationship. It really does run the shock value thin. Oh, she's killing herself. Oh my god, I can't believe she's killing herself. Yeah. Any second now. Any second now. Alright, take 10, fellas. At some point, we get it. Her mom tries to get in the bathroom to talk to her, but realizes that something is wrong when the door is locked and she ain't coming out. Oh my god, I think my child is in danger. Maybe if I just bang on this door a few times, it'll open. Are you kidding? Are you seriously trying to tell me that a mother who believes her child is in danger is completely unable to bust down a locked door? Women have lifted cars, bro. They've lifted cars to save their children, and you're telling me you can't even kick down a door? Come on! So anyway, she dies. That was the short film for Love Is All You Need. Yeah, all I need's a white Captain Morgan after watching that garbage. There's not much to say about the film, really. Aside from the deeply flawed concept, it's not really that much different from your average anti-bullying PSA. An overall amateurish production that goes way over the top, making it hard to take all that seriously. But amusingly, it also feels self-defeating. There are so many ways you can misinterpret this film. It wouldn't be surprising at all if a good portion of people who watched it got the completely wrong idea about it. Especially since it was being shown to children who, back then, may have been a little less familiar with the subject matter. And then you get shown a short film where you see gay people bully, beat, and push a little girl to suicide. Like, I get the intention, but when you look at it from a surface level point of view, that's literally what it is. It kind of sends the opposite message, you know? Now, normally this is where we'd give our final thoughts and end the video, but we're not done. Because a short 17-minute film wasn't enough. They made another motion picture in 2016, and this time it is a full-length feature film movie. If you thought what we just watched was completely bonkers, strap yourself in, because we're only halfway through this mess. There are two main storylines, one revolving around a character named Emily Curtis, who's actually played by the same actor, and her plot is largely similar to Ashley's from the short film, with some tweaks. Her parents want her to play football, but she's a trash player. After getting scolded by her coach at practice and being relegated to the sidelines, she meets Ian, and the two befriend each other. Although in this version, they never date, remaining only as friends. Although Ian's sister, Paula, one of Emily's bullies, gets really suspicious of it, and makes her life a living hell. The other focuses on a star athlete quarterback named Jude, whose vocal fry is so bad you could cook eggs with it.
So you can feel the defense closing in on you. Takes me beyond anything in my real life.
She dates a girl named Kelly. Look familiar? She was in another little-known film about bullying, but that's besides the point. Oh, I like this. Jude falls in love with a frat boy named Ryan, which aside from being a heterosexual relationship, and thus taboo, it strains her relationship with Kelly, because, you know, she's cheating on her. Aside from that, we also get some scenes with other, smaller characters that really let the movie speak about certain issues. We won't be giving a blow-by-blow of the movie because, frankly, for most of the runtime, it's a standard romantic flick and not all that interesting. Credit where it's due, the acting is much better, it seems to be of a higher production quality, and the longer runtime means a more fleshed out narrative and more social commentary. Yay. On a note about production quality, there is one small section where the music, for whatever reason, gets all weird. It fades out, then comes right back, and then it randomly cuts in and out.
Did you go to a religious university?
Well, it was the only scholarship I got, so here I am.
Okay, well, how am I supposed to go, Kelly? Here, take a button. Thanks for...
Jude! Hey!
It's a small thing and a small scene, but how does something like this happen? I mean, surely something like this would be easy to patch up, and sometimes the music choice is really weird. There's this one part where there's this heavy electric guitar when all the characters on screen are doing are making out. Like, does this warrant such intense music? Alright, so we have 2 hours of content, 6 times the length of the short film. Now, you might be wondering, with all this extra time to develop a plot and characters, surely Love Is All You Need is able to construct a story that is captivating, intriguing, and much more down-to-earth than its predecessor. No. A big issue is the pacing. It doesn't really naturally progress. It doesn't slowly reach a boiling point. One half, it's, you know, whatever, it's going on, and then it just turns 90 degrees off a cliff and just completely loses the plot. Another one is that it doesn't do a very good job of preserving the prominence for this world's concept, and so it falls on the back burner. It's really easy to forget that this is a world in which everyone is gay and only a disfavored minority are straight, and thus its ability to make the audience think is greatly diminished. Definitely not a good thing, being that this is the whole point to the film. The movie bounces around several different perspectives, and the scenes are presented in anachronic order, which is to say non-chronological. So the timeline is a little confusing, so we'll divide this review up, starting with Emily's side of the story. Unlike its predecessor, where the main character's orientation was made explicitly clear to the audience, with Emily, it's weird. The movie clearly intends her to be straight, but fails to really implement it. She doesn't really do or say anything that relates to her leanings, and it kind of nullifies its message regarding bullying that one may experience due to dating preferences. Because how are we supposed to know that she's getting bullied for being straight if we don't really know that she's straight? What's especially odd is how right at the beginning of the movie, it literally starts with her getting bullied with no reference being made to her being hetero.
Can I please pass?
So if anything, she isn't suffering this treatment because of her identity, she's just a victim of bullying in general, and her supposedly being hetero is just another thing that can be used against her. She only starts getting bullied for being straight when she joins a drama club, which is doing a play with straight characters.
Romeo and Juliet? That's so queer. What are you, Emily? Some kind of row?
Even when it's explicitly brought up, it's done more so in a teasing manner. They aren't making fun of her for being heterosexual, rather her being in this play suggests that she may be. It feels like Polly herself doesn't really seem to know or care that Emily is hetero, rather she just doesn't like that a boy and a girl are friends with each other.
It is perfectly okay for boys to be friends with girls.
No, it's not. Reverend Rachel says it's a sin.
That's not what she meant.
Which doesn't really make any sense, because if this is a reversal of our world, she'd be saying that it's wrong for boys to be friends with boys and girls to be friends with girls, which isn't an opinion that anyone really holds. In all fairness, the film at some point does kind of establish her identity, but it's ultimately something that could have been made a little more clear from the get-go. Anyways, back to her plot line about Ian. They befriend each other, but it goes sour when halfway through the movie, he finds out that she's gay when the play they're in gets canceled, and she expresses disappointment at not being able to kiss a boy.
Like, over 100 complaints about the play.
What? That's not fair. I'm never gonna get to kiss a boy.
Now, first of all, that's just a weird thing to say. Second of all, the way she emphasizes wanting to kiss a boy instead of actually being in a relationship with one is very odd. The way she says this makes it come off as though she's not interested in entering an actual relationship with a boy, but rather it's something that intrigues her because it's taboo. You aren't supposed to do it.
Kiss a boy? What are you talking about? Are you gay? Like a hetero?
And I understand that the roles are reversed, but isn't it kind of confusing to be calling a heterosexual girl gay? Couldn't we just keep the terminology the same?
I don't know what I am.
You know, Paula was right.
Ian, please.
I can't be friends with you anymore. People are gonna think I'm like you. It's gross.
This scene is probably trying to say that, hey, you shouldn't feel compelled to end a friendship over someone's dating preferences, which... sure. Honestly though, it would work a lot better if, for instance, Ian was initially negative upon learning this, but then overcame his prejudices over time, because that would send a clearer, more positive message. But the way this scene plays out, sure, maybe it's not a good thing he's ending a friendship with someone because of their lifestyle, but at the end of the day, he has a right to do it. He's an individual who can make decisions about his own life, and if he wants to end a friendship for really any reason, he can do that. If someone doesn't feel comfortable or safe around someone, even if it's for a prejudiced reason, they shouldn't be obligated to be friends with them. It especially doesn't work given the context the movie itself provides. We actually see a scene where Emily says he'd make a good Romeo.
You'd make a great Romeo.
You think so?
Yeah, and maybe if I got Juliet, we could practice our lines together.
So when she says,
I'm never gonna get to kiss a boy,
you can kind of piece together that she's trying to get him in this role so that she can live out her fantasies of kissing him. So I'd say that's a pretty solid reasoning to cut off a friendship. Anyways, after all that, Polly, along with her posse of friends, gang up on Emily. No, you've really got to give her some props there. That's some pretty tactical thinking on her part, really taking bullying to a whole new level. So they chase her and beat the absolute piss out of her.
Let me go! Ow!
You little bitch!
Where?
Like in the short film, they mark her as a hetero and her moms notice when she comes home. And of course they argue about it.
Daughter that! She is confused. Confused? Yes, my ass.
Wow, a dysfunctional lesbian relationship. Never seen that one before. She overhears them talk about a hate crime that was committed against one of the other characters in the movie and looks it up on YouTube.
Get that hetero faggot away from me. Take him on.
Causing her to watch a full-fledged hate crime where someone is beaten to death, which heightens her anxiety. Obviously, the notion that someone would be watching a video on YouTube where a hate crime is committed is a hilariously unlikely scenario, especially a video with over 10 million views and a surprisingly positive like-to-dislike ratio. I don't know, you want to make this believable, have her boot up LiveLeak or something. And then the girls from earlier throw rocks at her house. Which, you just had a scene where these girls took her to Pound Town for 10 minutes straight. We get it! These are horrible people! Let's move on! We do change the scene to Polly. She comes home and smugly informs her dads that she beat the crap out of Emily.
I don't know. Guess she didn't like playing Smear the Queer.
What?
What did you do to Emily?
Excuse me?
And I only beat her up a little bit.
Who talks like this? No one talks like this. Why are you pretending that anyone talks like this?
Wait, honey, please get the Curtises on the phone. Yep. You can explain to all of us what you did to Emily, and you can apologize to her as well.
Her dads call up Emily's house so that she can apologize, which is kind of funny because what would you actually say in a situation like that? Oh, hey, it's me, the guy who organized the gang of delinquents to gang up on you, chase you down, and beat you to a bloody pulp. And that happened, yeah, about 30 minutes ago. Yeah, just wanted to say I'm sorry. So they call up the household and the mom goes upstairs so that they can talk. But unbeknownst to them, Emily's in the bathroom having Vietnam flashbacks.
What are you, Emily? Some kind of rogue?
And so once again, we have a character who is pushed to suicide. She tries to open up a bottle of pills to overdose on, but she can't get the cap off. Is that a coincidence or an actual reference? Because honestly, if this is intentional, honestly, respect. That doesn't work, so she tries to kill herself by slitting her wrists inside of a bathtub. There's something to say about having a character attempt suicide by cutting themselves. Oh no, you're using a method with a 4% success rate. Furthermore, you're clearly going across the street and not down the road, so your risk of actually dying decreases by a much greater extent. I get being cinematic, but then again, we're going for a brutal reality. We are trying to shock the audience by having a little girl attempt suicide. So enough with these cliches. We need something new, something that'll resonate. So by God, let her get that cap off. Her mom stumbles in and realizes that something is wrong when she notices what Emily was watching. Thank God for autoplay. And overhears her screaming like she's auditioning to be the frickin' Hulk. Unlike the last movie, the moms managed to bust in before she dies, and like the Mob of the Dead, the cycle is broken. Yeah, not gonna lie, you guys should probably get a lawyer. In Jude's side of the story, she's happily dating her girlfriend Kelly, but after she meets Ryan, they develop feelings for each other, especially when they play basketball together, and Ryan gets really touchy-feely with her. Dude is not slick at all. You are really lucky you did not catch a case, my man. Kelly, unknowing of this affair, understandably gets upset at the distance which is being put between them.
I miss you, you know? I feel like I never get to see you anymore. You're always doing your sorority girl thing and...
Instead of breaking up, Jude continuously leads her on.
I'm sorry if I make you feel neglected. No, you don't make me feel neglected. Okay, good.
Which is kind of messed up. Things take a turn for the worst when Kelly catches them making out in the pool. Remember everyone, this scene is necessary for gay acceptance. By the way, it's never explained why Kelly just randomly wandered into this seemingly isolated pool area. She was just there, don't question it. We gotta move the plot along. Jude tries to break up with her after speaking to her local reverend and completely lies to her.
Did you know that your friend Ryan was kicked out of his fraternity? They think he's a closet hetero. Did he ever try anything with you?
No, that's disgusting.
And then out of nowhere, Kelly just becomes completely vindictive.
The vote is tomorrow, and we need to keep this between us until then, okay? Because I need to figure out how to go public with it.
See, she really wants to be homecoming queen and wants to use Jude's status as a campus celebrity to boost her image. And poor Jude has no choice but to go along with it. But then, the very next day, Kelly hangs up a bunch of photos of them making out in the pool. So what was the point of that little negotiation then? This scene is cartoonishly bad. No one would do this. I mean, really, if someone went through the effort of printing out a bunch of pictures of some people making out and then hung them all around the school, you'd just think they were psychotic. I like how she goes through the effort of putting up the photos in her own room. Like what's the point of that? Most people aren't gonna see these photos, so... And I think what's funny is Jude cheated on her partner and led her on all the while. It's awful that she did that, so you're obviously gonna sympathize with Kelly, who has every reason to feel hurt. But the movie doesn't want you to do that, so they have to overcompensate. They turn her into a total prick, and they have her do something so ridiculously excessive that the audience will have no choice but to look at Jude as her victim. It's a very cheap, lazy, and frankly overkill way to skew audience perception. A bit after that, Jude's playing in a football team alongside people who've turned on her. And the coach is delivering this great big game speech to pump up the players. It's interdispersed with clips of the bullies chasing after Emily.
When one of us is attacked, hell, when we're attacked, we push back. We're gonna go out there, we're gonna run faster, we're gonna hit harder.
Which kind of conflicts with the mood, does it not? You have this powerful, inspirational speech being made, and at the same time, someone is running for their freaking life. Even funnier, Ryan leaves Jude a message, and it does the same thing.
I just wanted to let you know I was safe. From where I am right now, I have the most amazing view of you and all of your glory.
Why did you timeline it like this? So they go out, and everyone in the crowd is holding up heterophobic signs directed at Judy. And the announcers do not stop hammering into Jude.
Look at her body language. Not at all the swagger we're accustomed to seeing from Klein.
Jude has risen above a hostile crowd, usually seen at the Wolves away games, though.
Getting no love whatsoever from her teammates.
Still, she gets booed like her own fans. Gotta wonder what this is all over her mind. I mean, no doubt her personal choices have disappointed so many, but you can't find faults with her abilities on the field. You just can't.
Obviously, the leaders lost all respect for
We get it. Everyone hates her for being straight. Give it a rest. Let's move the frickin' movie along here, please. Near the end of the game, Jude's team lets her get sacked. Yeah, so much for that epic speech about unity or whatever. Just for good measure, they have everyone celebrate it. The idea that a whole football team would just simultaneously agree to throw a game just so they can mess with the one kid they don't like, while the announcers constantly diss her, all while surrounded by a crowd of people holding up signs to specifically trash on that single person, is once again way too comical to take seriously. But dude, it gets even crazier. Ryan has a falling out with his fraternity. That's something else. The film also seems to be criticizing frat culture as well. A whole other thing there. I guess the head of the fraternity gets really into religion to a totally schizophrenic degree, and it's kind of funny because if I told you to imagine a religious zealot, you'd be thinking of some Warhammer 40k stuff, or your grandma. Not some douche bro college frat boy. So as Jude is getting wheeled to the hospital on account of having 12 people pile up on her, this frat bro and his fraternity ward catch Ryan alone and stuff him into the back of a van. Apparently, this massive crowd doesn't see it happen because of a news van that blocks the view. I don't know, it's still a bit of a stretch for no one to see these guys nab someone in open view.
We prayed for you, Ryan. We all did. And this is what we came to. Revelations, chapter 16.
I don't know, guys. A Christian frat cult kidnapping someone because they're queer is a little too subtle. I'm not sure if general audiences are gonna be able to pick up on the subliminal messaging.
We're here to cleanse you because we are the 7 angels, and we are doing God's work.
They take him to a carousel and beat him to death. They go as far as to call their local reverend, who unknowingly encourages them to commit a hate crime.
We want to save that hetero.
You're doing God's work. The Lord be with you in all your questions.
stop because a more sensible member remarks that what they're doing is wrong.
Mike's right. It's not okay.
And all of a sudden, everyone comes to their senses. 30 seconds ago, they were having the time of their lives, playing, what was that? Smear the Queer? But now you realize it's bad. Now, as a man is tied up to a merry-go-round, his face bloodied, and his ribs caved in.
We are doing God's work!
Again, very subtle. As the film comes to its end, Jude and Emily meet each other for the very first time at Ryan's funeral.
Why do people hate us so much?
They don't understand love like ours. Maybe they never will.
Isn't our love the same as theirs?
It is.
In literally any other context, this would actually be a valid point to bring up, but you can't really do that here.
Isn't our love the same as theirs?
In order for this line to make any sense, you have to completely ignore the fact that there is a religious breeding season.
You know how during the breeding, the periods, breeding periods, when a couple agrees on having a child.
Isn't our love the same as theirs?
No, it quite literally isn't. Okay, I'm looking at the script here, and I feel the need to warn you in advance. This is going to be an incredibly drawn out and preachy segment, so yeah, fair warning. Stepping aside from the main plot lines, there are points in the movie where we focus on a drama teacher who plays a relatively minor role. He has the drama club that Emily's in act out Romeo and Julio, this world's version of Romeo and Juliet, but he rewrites Julio to be a girl, so it's Romeo and Juliet.
William Shakespeare was actually a heterosexual, and he wrote his most famous play, Romeo and Julio, for his secret lover, the Duchess of Southampton.
Once again, in regards to Shakespeare's sexuality, you're walking a very fine line with making definitive statements that can't be proven as a matter of fact. So you have this teacher who is creating a justification out of thin air to subvert culture so that he can push his own views onto children. And believe it or not, we're supposed to think he's the good guy. A bunch of parents get upset that he's doing this play, so he has to meet with the school principal.
David, my phone's been ringing off the hook all morning.
I predicted that. I probably should have talked to you first. I apologize.
His parents want blood.
And the way this conversation plays out is a classic strawman scenario. You have your good guy who's written to clearly be in the right against this unenlightened authority figure who ignorantly dismisses everything he says.
I don't think anyone deserves to be beaten or bullied or talked down to because of...
Why are you being so pro-heterosexual?
While this makes for an overall unvaluable scene that provides only a narrow-minded approach to the topic at hand, it's interesting that the character we're supposed to be siding with never really makes a compelling point.
And how many times have you ever changed a piece of literature to use as a teaching opportunity?
No, this is the first.
Why? Why would you do that now? Especially with this topic.
It's a really cool idea. Artistically, it has merit, but more importantly, because what happened to Ryan Morris was horrendous.
Alright, so a hate crime inspired you to overstep your boundaries as an educator and rewrite a play to contain controversial subject matter without consulting anyone beforehand. I see.
It was horrendous, exactly. Which is why we shouldn't be reminding the children about it.
Children aren't born with that kind of hatred. I believe it is our job as educators to make sure these kids see the world in the right way, not just intellectually, but morally.
Right. This conversation is very odd because it feels like we're straying away from the premise of the movie and we are now discussing the roles of teachers in a general sense. One problem with saying that teachers should teach what is right morally is that what is right morally differs from person to person. Morals are subjective, and yes, that's a very mid-wit observation, but it's the entire reason this scene even happening. This guy thought that what he was doing was serving morally right means. Meanwhile, for one reason or another, the people around him think that that is abhorrent, so here we are. And it's not that teachers shouldn't introduce children to new viewpoints and perspectives. They are able to do that. If this guy really wanted to do something, he could have. But of course, there's guidelines and limits as to how far you can go, which obviously having children act out the equivalent of a gay romance probably crosses those lines, or would at least be an area of concern for a lot of parents. Bottom line, this guy had boundaries, he clearly didn't respect them, that led to people getting upset, and now he's facing the consequences for that. Changing the prominence of sexualities really doesn't change that. The movie tries to paint the principal and his positions as backwards and ignorant, but it doesn't really do a good job of doing that.
I believe it is our job as educators to make sure these kids see the world in the right way, not just intellectually, but morally.
Where I disagree with you.
Moral issues are to be handled at home. You know, this is happening on our time, in our space. What are we supposed to
Not
do?
our
We're
job.
supposed to. This is happening
Moral
under our
issues to
roof.
be handled by the parents. It's their responsibility, not ours.
You're literally just having this guy say things that most people agree with. Now, if the movie would like to argue that it's not enough that we entrust our parents to instill good values in their children and we need to empower teachers to do the same, sure, but you're gonna have to make an actual case here, because literally all this guy does is make appeals to emotion.
Moral issues to be handled by the parents. It's their responsibility, not ours.
So what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to just stand back?
Not an argument. So he gets fired, which is probably supposed to be a bad thing, but honestly, it feels entirely deserved. What the reversal of roles does kind of do is it brings notice to a double standard. No one would have a problem if a high school theater or class were to act out Romeo and Juliet as it was, but if it were suddenly changed to a story about a same-sex relationship, people would get upset. Aside from the debate of Shakespeare's identity, it makes sense as to why it would use Romeo and Juliet specifically, because it's so widely taught in our schools. But the film's observation ultimately falls apart. Romeo and Juliet is a very iconic play ingrained in our culture. It's a relatable story, explores important themes, and is a good tool for teaching the English language. People don't have a problem with it being taught or acted as is because it's such a valuable piece of literature. The story works as is. There's no reason to change the sexualities of the characters, especially if you're just gonna keep the narrative the same. Rewriting it in such a way brings into question the motive of the person rewriting it. Even putting that aside, it doesn't really feel like the film truly gets to the bottom of a parent's point of view in a situation like this. The film seemingly sets up the motivation of the parents' objections to this play as religious superstition. Heck, they even mention that the local reverend plays a hand in the controversy.
Superintendent.
Reverend Rachel made it very clear that if you weren't gone by lunchtime today, it would be hell to pay for him come election time.
She's a reverend. She can't do that.
Yeah.
But it feels like this is being sold short. Now sure, in a situation like this, religious beliefs could play a role in a backlash that would be received. But there's definitely a deeper, more objective area of concern. A teacher actively rewriting a play demonstrates initiative and an intent to do something. So there's room for concern that he's attempting to introduce and implement into their impressionable children a lifestyle that they don't want to be put on their kids. So of course you're gonna have people who are gonna voice their opinion on that matter. This is a pivotal talking point, yet here it's more or less glossed over, with pointless and boring moral high-horsing taking precedence. This scene feels as though it holds very little water, because it isn't really getting to the bottom of the issue. Aside from the drama teacher, there's someone else who just really gives off a weird vibe throughout the movie. She's the head of the Heterosexual Alliance, obviously based off the various LGBTQ alliances there are. For whatever reason, this woman is really weird, uncomfortable, and uncharismatic. There's this one specific point. Jude talks to her about her heterosexual thoughts or whatever, and she really pushes on her that she needs to tell all her friends and her family.
And it's not going to be an easy path. I mean, you're gonna have to tell your friends and your family.
Wait, I can't tell anybody. I'm not a poster child for hetero rights.
Well, you're falling for him, aren't you?
I love football way more, so.
You can have both.
Isn't it kind of messed up that someone comes to you to confide in their identity, and one of the first things you do is put this massive burden onto their shoulders that they have to tell everyone that they know? Isn't one of the things with queer identity that people shouldn't come out about it until they actually feel comfortable doing so? I mean, it's no wonder she locks up and gets nervous. Some ally you are. We've refrained from talking about religion up until this point because the way the short and long film handle it are very different from one another. The first film, while it certainly gave the idea that religion was, at least in part, responsible for perpetuating a dehumanized view of homosexuals, it was only one section of the whole movie. So while it was attributing responsibility to it, it didn't really feel like it was holding it solely at fault. In this version, it portrays religion as the problem. The reason people hate other sexualities is purely because of religion. Whenever someone does something bad, religion is always what drove them to do it.
Jude Klein.
It says that her girlfriend Kelly Williams outed her yesterday after she caught her in the act with some guy named Ryan Morris. When asked why she posted her pictures all over campus, Williams replied, "According to my mentor, Reverend Rachel, it is my religious duty to expose sin wherever I can find it."
You want to be good faith when it comes to stuff like this. Maybe it's not necessarily saying that religion is bad, but more so it's highlighting the dangers of misinterpreting it as justification to cause harm to others. The problem is it never really presents these scenarios with nuance. When you have this insane frat boy inquisitor guy beat someone to death while babbling out Bible Bible verses. There's nothing to interpret there. It's literally just, look at this religious guy doing bad things because he's religious. When you have a bunch of religious people coming to a football game to hold up bigoted signs, you're not thinking of the deeper meaning to it all. It's just, wow, it's so horrible that religion would push people to harass this one person at their football game. There's no deeper meaning. There's nothing to think about. There's nothing to discuss. It's just, look at all these religious people doing bad things, specifically because they are religious. And there are a few sections where they really try to hammer it in. There's this track of a church-like hymn that gets played a few times when bad things are happening. It's most prominent in Emily's scene where she, you know, plays the violin. Oh, you have this church-like choir over this very disturbing scene, so clearly Christianity is what's causing all this to happen. It's just, we get it. You've made religion your punching bag, and there's really no need to go this extra mile. Blatantly villainizing one group and victimizing the other serves only to create division instead of discussion. A Christian has no incentive to reflect on a film that feels so bad faith. On the other hand, why should gay people try and find common ground with Christians when, according to this film, they are apparently the reason that they're gonna get hate crimes at some point in their life? To throw Love Is All You Need a bone, sure, hate crimes and discrimination against these groups does happen, and undoubtedly some people are going to cite religion as their intent. Obviously a bad thing. Probability dictates that, by sheer size, chances are individual members in a group are gonna do something bad at some point. The question is, does taking those outliers to portray religion as completely evil result in a fair or productive message? No. Not really. It goes as far to make its villain/antagonist a reverend named Rachel Duncan. The movie seems to revel in using this character so that they can take pot shots at Christianity. For example,
and this will most definitely put you on the good Reverend Rachel's radar.
What's her problem anyway? Why is she so fixated on the hetero issue?
Her sister left her wife for the church handyman. Right. Left the entire family.
Kidding me.
None of the information presented in this scene has any relevance to the rest of the film. It literally only exists to belittle this character, and of course ridicule similar groups of people in real life. Oh, you don't like the gays? It must be because you're insecure/compensating for personal life events. And look, there's nothing wrong with poking fun at people. It's just that the whole point of this concept is that switching the norms would make it easier for people who don't accept these groups to relate and eventually accept them. The very people you're making fun of are the people you're trying to appeal to so that you can change their minds. But if you're going to denigrate them, they really have no reason to do that. Her sermons are noticeably a little more militaristic this time around.
Our God that tells us thou shalt not kill is the same God that says, mankind shall not lie with womankind. You don't get to just pick what you please. It's all or nothing with the Lord. So really, if you say it's okay to be gay, you're saying it's okay to kill. You know, some years ago, they hid behind closed doors, as they should have, as they should still. Now, they mock us. They live in sin, and they live very openly. They live brazenly. They live without remorse.
I really like how the music is just as loud as the Reverend speaking, so you can barely hear her.
The notion that because someone engages in sex with a person of the opposite gender that they deserve the same human rights? I don't think so.
So again, the film flips the script and does this whole thing where religious people are talking the same way about straight people, the same way they talk about gay people. How does it feel for religious people to talk about you in the same way? These beliefs are undoubtedly controversial, but controversial or not, all that's happening here is that beliefs are being expressed in a private establishment. How that makes people feel is completely irrelevant. People have a right to say these things, and likewise, if you don't like what's being said, you have a right not to engage with it. Her sermons do give us a little more information on the aforementioned breeding season.
Men and women are equal in God's eyes, but should live separately in same-sex unions, where the most sacred of brotherly and sisterly love can bloom, as is his design.
And there is a bit bit of respect to be had that they at least try to offer more of an explanation for it, but it still doesn't really work because the morals don't really feel consistent to Christianity or really just in general. So they think that God doesn't want them to pursue the opposite gender because that's sinful. But apparently it's not sinful to have sex with someone other than your spouse so long as it's done within a specific time frame. I'm starting to see why we don't let women become the Pope. Something else this kind of implies is that religion determines the default sexuality, which doesn't really seem right. Look, we aren't scientists here at the Jedivision, so forgive our mid-wit logic here, but while it's not an unfair observation to make that religion perpetuates heteronormativity, making this point in isolation feels like it downplays other factors, such as heterosexual reproduction being the primary way that humans continue the species. And frankly, it's hard to imagine a religion that goes against the foundations of human existence gaining much ground in society, much less sustaining itself long term. In that regard though, there might have actually been potential here to ask what exactly is it that makes people love who they love. Is it truly natural, or is it just because we're surrounded by heteronormative ideals which facilitates the world we have today? By limiting the scope to religion, it makes for conversation that's much less considerable. Now that we got that out of the way, back to the Reverend. Her character plays a very weird role in this movie, because for most of it, she isn't really a bad person. Sure, she says all that stuff, but she still clarifies that they're worthy of being prayed for so that they can be saved.
We are going to pray for these sinners, right? That's what we're going to do because we believe in God.
So when they try to use her as an example of how this rhetoric can radicalize people into hurting others, it doesn't really work because it doesn't feel like it dips into those extremities, further cementing her as a not so bad person. When Jude talks to her about her affair, leaving out the fact that it's being done with a male, she has this to say.
Nev, how about you and Kelly? How are you doing? Can I be honest with you, Evan? I think that I'm in love with the person that God wants me to be with. You're not talking about Kelly, right? That's not right, Jude. You cannot lead a person on like that. You need to go and let her know. And then you bring your new girlfriend here. Together, we're going to pray together for forgiveness because deceit is a sin. Let's pray on that together in a minute.
Wow. Urging her to minimize the harm that's being done to somebody else. What a horrible person. The danger of religion on full display here. And then randomly, halfway through the movie, her character takes a really weird and sudden turn. She gets randomly vindictive and controlling. She calls Jude a bitch
after she caught her in the act with some guy named Ryan Morris.
And hatches these weird plots or whatever to mess with her at the football game.
Head coach Glenn Thompson said that she's still gonna go pro.
Oh, that's not gonna happen. You're gonna go to that football game and you're gonna do God's work.
Wait, just me? I'm not ready for that.
Are you gonna disappoint God today, or are you gonna go do his work?
I'll go do his work.
You're gonna do his work.
It's just a really sudden shift that feels like it wasn't done to make sense, rather just so that the movie could have a villain, and of course make religion look bad. What's the movie really saying here? That local religious figures position themselves as humble and respectable members of their community, but the second you do something they think is bad, they're gonna do everything in their power to ruin your life? Okay? Towards the end, Reverend Rachel inadvertently becomes the accessory to a hate crime. You see, when that frat boy was beating that guy to death, he called up the Reverend to get her blessing.
I'm gonna call the Reverend. She'll know what to do. We want to save that hetero.
Really? Okay, well, have you been praying about it?
Yes, ma'am. We just need your blessing first.
Well, you're doing God's work. You let the Lord be with you, and all your questions are going to be answered.
It's worth noting that she herself had no way of knowing that any of this was happening, and thus no way of disavowing it, which makes it feel really undeserved when she gets arrested and convicted. And on that note, Love Is All You Need pretty much ends with Jude paying a visit to the Reverend in jail, and smugly reading a Bible verse to her.
First book of Peter, verse 4, line 8. Love each other deeply, because love covers over a multitude of sins. I think that covers my sin. How much yours?
First of all, I am not taking moral lectures from someone who cheated on their lesbian girlfriend. Second of all, you're doing the thing. The Bible says you need to love each other, which means you need to be tolerant of me, and you can't say anything bad about me ever. It's just vapid. What's especially odd is how the movie frames this. By having a character take a victory lap over the religious antagonist protagonist, it portrays her imprisonment as right and just, but it really isn't. The strongest argument you can make for her being jailed is that she encouraged a hate crime, but this would require her to be aware it was even happening in the first place, which she obviously wasn't. Maybe she radicalized people through her sermons, but since she never called for direct action or violence, this too falls flat. Since there's no real reason for this person to have been put in prison, yet the framing of this is that it's right this person is behind bars, it really does give the impression, whether intended or not, that this is what the film thinks should happen to religious people critical of these groups, that they should be held accountable for heinous actions regardless of their actual level of accountability in said actions. Oh yeah, by the way,
I think that covers my sin.
so when she refers to her own sin, she's obviously referring to her sexuality. Keep in mind, this character is shown to be religious, so when she refers to her sexuality as a sin, it means she's acknowledging that this facet of her is wrong, and she should strive to not be what she is. That's really funny for a pro-gay film. Now you might think that this is all a bad faith interpretation of the message trying to be conveyed here, and admittedly, maybe it is. As much as we ran the film through the gauntlet, it could be that there was a more balanced intention to it. Maybe it's trying to encourage people to be more mindful of the things that they say, because people could take it the wrong way and cause harm to people. Maybe it encourages listening to such things with a more balanced perspective to prevent justifying yourself causing harm. Maybe it's a warning that all it takes is a wrong set of circumstances that can end you up on the receiving end of false justice. Was Love Is All You Need made with the goal of completely tearing down religion as a whole, or was the intent to deliver a more balanced and agreeable approach where people are able to see and understand the pains that others have to go through? Honestly, I have no idea. Like, we don't want to completely write this movie off and assume the worst intentions, but when you portray these people as unlikable, evil, and straight up psychopathic, it's hard to be the best of faith. But then again, it's pretty obvious that the writing in general is not a strong suit for the people who made this. So maybe it really is just a case that they weren't able to formulate their intended message in a clear and concise manner. We honestly, genuinely have no idea of what this film is trying to push. But if we're going to assume good intentions, then Love Is All You Need is a film with a very specific goal, an admirable one at surface level. To make something that allows people to more easily relate and better understand the discrimination that some minorities have to go through. Regardless of your feelings towards minority groups or lifestyles that you don't agree with, people should never be treated as lesser. Perhaps the issue is that it's trying to get people to think in a specific way, introducing people to the concept of treating people with decency regardless of differences and, you know, not beating the crap out of them because they're gay. These are very straightforward ideas, and while the concept of a world in which the norms are switched may be interesting on paper, and who knows, maybe it could have actually worked given better writing, it feels like this concept just buries, confuses, and muddles the message which is trying to be sent. It also fails at making people relate to the discrimination the characters go through because said discrimination feels so exaggerated and unrealistic. It doesn't feel like these were scenes made so that people would connect more easily. It feels like they were made to sensationalize rather than foster genuine empathy. Love Is All You Need is both comically over the top and shallow. Scenes that are exaggerated to the point of absurdity, yet it never really does anything more than have bad things happen to the characters and say, look, this is just like real life. And any points it attempts to make falter, because quite frankly, they aren't made very well. Are people discriminated against because of their identity? Do hate crimes related to these identities happen? Yeah. And if you really want to open people up to this fact of life, you should present it in a way that facilitates that. Such a film should be made with care and authenticity, ensuring the portrayal resonates with real experiences rather than exaggerating for dramatic effect. The failure to do so leaves a movie and short film not to be dwelled on, considered, or taken seriously, but something to be ripped apart and laughed at. By the way, how does AIDS work? Because I guarantee you, in a world where everyone's gay, it would be Plague Inc. over there. Although, in a world where everyone's gay, maybe people would have evolved to have thicker anal lining, or self-lubricating buttholes. These are the things we must think about.